This is Jimmy Cavs, the 5150 interview series in Bulldozer Magazine here in Northeast Los Angeles, the Airliner. On a very interesting Friday. Let me backtrack a little bit. Back in 1984, I went record shopping and I found this great compilation record called, let me make sure because I'm a little old in my memory. This is Boston, Not LA. When I listened to that record, I stumbled upon a band called Gang Green from Massachusetts. Fantastic band. And then,
Thank you.
and then what happened? You
Thank
guys
you.
broke up and then you got back together?
Yeah, we're here tonight, yeah, and it just kind of, well, first of all, I got married and had a kid, so I walked away from it for a while, and then the marriage broke up, so I got back into it. And it's still fun for me to do. It's a hobby now. And it's, to come here and play Los Angeles on a Friday night. We're in San Francisco last night and doing 3 more shows in California. To be able to do something like this and go out and play songs I love playing, it's just been a great, it just never ends. If people still want to see us, so we'll still play.
Now, this is interesting. 30 years ago, these guys were doing this very extreme, what is now labeled as hardcore. But even back then, there was a very heaviness to it. There was this raw aggressiveness to it, where 30 years later, it's still relevant. Are you tripped out by that?
I think it's great.
It's still great.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's timeless. It's classic punk rock, I guess you would say. We just wanted to play as fast and as hard as we could, and it just hasn't gone away. Other bands have tried it, and bands have. I guess it seemed like when we started playing, to be a lead singer in a hardcore band, you just had to be the guy with the biggest fucking mouth. And then the prerequisite changed to someone that actually knew how to sing. So bands that actually had a lead singer that sang, could write pop songs, have done very well, that were influenced by our era, but we weren't that way, and we never will be. We just hit fast, hard, hit it like it is. I said at the end of American Hardcore, there are so many bands driving their tour bus down the highway we paved and making a lot of money doing it, but I never got into it for the money, and I've never made money doing it. It's just a fucking blast. I love playing the songs.
Well, let me say this, Chris. Back in 1984, and it's been documented by history, there's so many bands that I don't want to get into labeling or mentioning because there's no reason for that, but
sure.
In history, they're documented now as being so pivotal, so groundbreaking. Why isn't Gang Green fucking on that? Because, again, in 1984, so many amazing bands. But out of Boston, out of Massachusetts, what you guys were doing wasn't even happening in a lot of parts of the country, man.
No, it wasn't.
No way.
But I would say in Massachusetts, out of all the hardcore bands, all the bands that were on Boston, LA, we have made the biggest impact. There's actually, I didn't know about it until I was inducted, but there's actually a Boston Music Hall of Fame.
Wow.
And Gang Green was the only band from that era that was inducted into it. But I mean, it's a pretty cool place to be with my childhood idols like Aerosmith, Jay Giles, The Cars, but none of the other bands had really taken it to that level. I think because we changed and evolved a little bit and went a little bit more metal, maybe I don't know. But I think we influenced a lot of bands. I hear ourselves in a lot of bands. A lot of times we open for bands, the opening bands always come up and, well, let me back up. The best part about doing this and getting out here and playing shows is everybody has a story. Everyone comes up to me and says, the first time I saw you, I was 13 years old. The first time I saw you guys, my first DUI. The first time I saw you guys, my wife and I met. I mean, there's always my grandfather told me about you guys. I didn't like that one, but I feel so gracious when people come up and say, they love Another Wasted Night, or their band covered Alcohol, their band plays one of our songs, or, I mean, and they're thanking me for playing. It's like, no, I'm thanking you for showing up. I mean, it means so much to me that people will still come see us play and appreciate it.
I think a lot of the reason why your music has not only lasted the test of time, and on top of that, it's still relevant. That's an important word I want to throw out there. It's because at that era, at that time, certain musicians were writing from the heart. It wasn't like it is now with the internet and money and all that. And here we are now, present day, and you're still doing it by the heart because there's still no money in it.
Right, yeah.
Let me ask you this though. I remember when Gangrene did shift, when you got signed to Roadrunner and you shifted more into a metal scene. Do you think that kind of jeopardized your earlier hardcore legacy and especially with the fans?
Yeah.
Because I noticed there was a rift at that time.
Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, we lost a lot of like the hardcore skater kids, and it was really strange. In America, it really hurt us. In Europe, it made us huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a big difference. You know, we'd go over there and it was just amazing. And then come here and it felt like we went backwards. So yeah, it definitely hurt us. And nowadays when we get out there and play, I mean, it's all, Boston, LA, or Another Wasted Night. It's all the early stuff. Maybe 2, 3, 4 songs from Roadrunner, and that's about it.
But you know what? That record on Roadrunner, let me mention. You Got It.
Yeah.
Was actually a very good record.
Thank you. Yeah. I was proud of it. I was real proud of it. And
I personally didn't like when you made the videos, but
the skateboard videos.
Yeah, man.
I liked them. That was fun.
You got to remember, back in 1987. First of all, we were all younger. And it was that whole, like, here's this hardcore band that now they're playing metal and they're doing videos. It's what we would team back then as Sellout. Yeah. Now it's just part of the fucking business at that era,
right.
you know?
But see, the thing is, when we did 2 videos, one for You Got It, which MTV America wouldn't play, but they played the shit out of it in Europe, and then Born to Rock. But what we did is we gathered up all the hardcore skaters and built the quarter pipe. So we had, that was a fun video shoot. We had a cookout, we had a keg there, we had a fucking blast. It was filmed inside a hockey rink when we built the set. So, I think at the time it was what to do. And Paul Rackman did it, who did the Bad Brains, Run DMC videos. And so we had a hardcore producer. Kevin from the Cro-Mags was actually the cameraman in it. So I don't really think that was selling out. I think it was just...
No, it wasn't. It was part of the business. Let me rephrase it. That was actually a great record.
Yeah.
It got a lot of shit. People didn't understand the you guys evolving to that level, but listening to it now, it's a fucking great record, man. Do you appreciate that record also has stood the test of time?
Yeah. And the Roadrunner stuff was great on its own too. I think the older Budweiser album was awesome.
Fantastic.
The live album we did at the Marquee in London, with all those songs played live the way they really should be heard, came out incredible. With just a few of that was like more. The set then was more of the Roadrunner days and less of the hardcore days. And now, like I was just saying earlier, now it's the opposite. Now it's all the early hardcore stuff and a few Roadrunner songs.
I find it interesting that most bands that are coming back now with this resurgence, a majority of this crowd here is very young, There's a lot of bands that are coming back to try to make that buck. The difference is bands that when they get up on stage, Gangrene, your energy, your adrenaline is still the same. How do you do that?
It's just my love for the music and the passion for what I do. And like I said, once I reserve myself to it being a hobby, that's
less stressful, right?
Yeah, because it just...
Do what you want.
Yeah, I sit behind a desk 50 or 60 hours a week. I have a real job. I have a house. I have kids. I have a family, and car payments, all that shit. But when I get to get the fuck out of town for 4 or 5 days, it's just a great vacation. I wanted to be back in Boston for the marathon, so we played Connecticut, Philly, Brooklyn, and Boston. So it was like a paid vacation to go back. We don't make money, but we don't lose money. But just to be able to do it and have people appreciate it that's why it's so much fun. It's fun, man. It always has been. That's the reason I started it. And then to kind of go full circle with the question, it became a business. It became a job where we're a corporation with everything we did, and that's when it really started to suck, because it wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
There was an hour and a half to 2 hours a day that were fun when we hit the stage, but everything else was just a bunch of bullshit.